seconds.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and start. Why am
It says live up in the corner, and it says like 11 seconds. Yeah, I think you're live.
I'll tell y'all. I'm check your page.
How's the connection? Oh, I think, yep. Alright, I see one viewer. It did not play the intro, unfortunately, but, let's see. Okay, are we live? I think we're live, guys, because I see 4 people already watching. So, welcome to my channel, guys. I'm Polish Agnes. I'm your host for today. I hope you will forgive me the connection issues. I am currently at the hotel, actually getting paid to do this for once in my life, right?
Get paid to
But
do this?
I have some people I gotta pick up later. Yeah. So, if I'm going to really bad, I'm going to switch to my phone because my Wi-Fi here is very limited, and I think because it's Sunday, everyone just sits on Wi-Fi currently. It may become hard, but I already have my awesome guests here today. James, welcome for the first time to Polish Agnes team and community.
All right.
And Jonathan, and we already talked with Jonathan before, and today's topic is Connecticut. So welcome, Jonathan, to our stream.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Appreciate it. Agnes is buffering.
I see that. We'll wait for her to come back on, hopefully, and we'll see what she wants to talk about.
I'm gonna try to be diplomatic today.
Well, I already told you how my day was going, so you know what I want to talk about. We'll give her a little bit. We'll see what happens.
There she go.
Oh my goodness. I think this is going to be really tough for me on this computer. But I'm back.
That seems to be better.
Yeah,
You're not
I'm
breaking
just
up.
going to do it on the phone. I have like a bunch of clips I wanted to post, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do this without the phone today. So let's see. There. Okay. I have Mona to stage. So
Hi, sweetie.
welcome our patriot Mona. Mona is from Missouri, and she is also going to join the conversation that we're going to have. I wanted to mostly talk about Connecticut and the fact that Connecticut is very highly democratic, and I do some clips that I prepared, but there's no way I can do this on the phone. I don't know. We'll see a little later. Maybe my connection is better. But what do we do here in Connecticut? We are trying really hard. The patriots that have gathered into some groups, we are really trying hard to see if we can do something to flip Connecticut red. And like I said already in my previous streams, I would really, really love that because it would help my mental health tremendously. I'm not feeling good in Connecticut, being around a bunch of liberals, And I've listened to a lot of clips when people are literally saying that Connecticut is very miserable and people are not so nice here. People are having a hard time to live here, and this is why they are not happy. And you know what? I was kind of thinking about how my life has been going in the last 4 or 5 years, and to be honest, I'm not really that happy either. I'm not a happy camper around here. But last time when I didn't like something, I just run around with the camera and did a bunch of rallies, and I protested a bunch of things. And you know what? I have changed something. So is 77 million people together with me. We have changed, what we didn't like. So now I guess Connecticut is the next place where we're trying to change something. And James here is one of our really coolest guys and a leader who's always trying to organize bunch of rallies, bunch of gatherings, meetups for us. And I want to see what do you want to pass here, James.
What I want to talk about is why is it always the same 300 people that show up at everything? Okay. And what I mean by that is we can only ever seem to get like 100 people to show up no matter what we do, but it's from the same pool of 300. So, you know what I mean? Some of this people, some of those people, but it's always the same pool of people. And I've been trying to do everything I can to get more people involved. So again, for example, I went up to Yukon with Mike the motorhome, with the bus, the Trump bus, whatever you want to call it, and tried talking to some of those people. I went down to Ridgefield 3-4 times. I was in New Haven with the motorhome, Hartford. I was with the motorhome all over the place, taking down people's phone numbers, making contacts, because that motorhome really got people involved. Okay. And then what I mean by that is people on both sides, the Democrat side and our side, that thing was like one of them lights where the bugs are always attracted to. That's not what the motorhome was. So I learned something from that. And so I was basically what I would like to do eventually is try to get one here in Connecticut for ourselves, because I could stand out in the middle of a parking lot with a flag and that ain't going to do nothing compared to what that motorhome did. So what I've been trying to do this year is in the beginning of the year, March, we had an event at a Plainville pizza place because there was executive orders that were coming flying out fast and furious out of the Trump administration. And it was just a lot to keep up with and a lot going on. And we were all excited about it because it was all brand new at the time. So, but again, it was still too cold to go standing outside. So from there, what ended up happening is April, we had our first event at the Cadillac Ranch. It was our friend Steve and myself. We went and hung up some flags. It was freezing cold. It was 38 degrees out with the wind. It said it was like 28 degrees out. Again, it literally had snowed the night before. Again, we didn't care. We stood out there anyway. 40, 50 people showed up. A bunch of people who we had never seen before came. And the reason why we like going to the Cadillac Ranch was all the people down below us on the highway, 84. 84 is really the only main east and west highway that we have in Connecticut. So with that being said, everybody below us has to see us. And we're able to decorate behind the Cadillac Ranch, decorate the bridge. And what that ends up doing is that actually particular time, I think it was in April, we got somebody to stop and came and joined us. And, that lady turned out to be head of an RTC. So she can go back and, share what she saw with us to them. And all I've been trying to do all along is gather people together from all parts of this state. And the Cadillac Ranch is basically in the center of Connecticut. It's an hour from any direction. And like I said, it's got the highway next door. So that's what I've been trying to do is go there. So like I said, we had our first event there in April. We had another event there in May. We had another event there in June. And what we've had, like I said, the one that we had in April, we had a snowstorm the night before, so people didn't necessarily come. In May, we had a rainstorm for 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes. But people saw that there was rain, I don't know, in Enfield, so, wherever, some other part of the state. I'm like, listen, it's not going to be raining here in Southington, which is where the rally is. Who cares if it's raining where you're at an hour away? It's not going to be raining here. Some people didn't come out. In June, we had the motorhome there, and we had a great turnout. I mean, all different kinds of new people. Another thing that I've done too is I joined X. I didn't want to switch platforms because I've been mainly on Facebook, but I saw everything kind of being stagnant over there on Facebook. So everybody kept telling me, get on X, get on X, get on X. So I did get on X. And what I learned from that, even though at this particular moment that I'm going to tell you about, I only had 80 friends at this particular time. So even with 80 friends at that particular time, what ended up happening was I was out supporting somebody who was locked up for having an unpopular opinion. And the guy's name was John Flynn. So what ended up happening with my mere 80 friends that I had on X, that message got shared out far and wide, and over 10,000 people saw that message within about 7 days because people on X were sharing that. So that taught me something, the power of X and how those people are willing to actually get involved and share stuff out. So again, I struggle with X and I'm not really good with X. But like I said, I've gathered new people from over there. Now they started coming to the Cadillac Ranch and doing what we're doing. And like I said, this is a learning curve for me. Other things that I started doing is I started buying more flags. I bought, back in May, I had bought two 12-foot by 18-foot flags. One we had hanging up on the bridge, one we had hanging on the deck of the Cadillac Ranch, just to get more seen than we already were. In June, I bought an even large, oh, actually, I got to take that back. We bought those flags for June. And the last event we had there myself, I had a 15-foot by 25-foot flag hanging over the bridge. It was absolutely huge. It was hard to ignore. We had the motorhome there in September. And what I learned from that was, yeah, it was supposed to be crappy storms and this and that. We only had 30 or 40 people show up for that. I don't know because it was the rain or what. But like I said, I've been going up to the Capitol, handing out flyers up at the Capitol to try to get people involved. I've been doing everything I can do to try to get people involved. I went to a gun show. I handed out flyers up there, told them what we're doing. The motorhome went over to the eastern side of the state. I talked to people over there, gave them flyers. I'm doing literally everything I can think of and come up with to try to get people involved. So what I did on Friday, and let me back up. Last Saturday, we went down to Bethel. Steve and I went down there. We decorated this little green, and we inspired those people that were down there because they don't know how to do what we've been doing. So we showed them what we're doing with the flag poles, the rebar, and a flag. And so what I ended up doing on Fridays, I went up to Jonathan's neck of the woods up in Terryville, and we decorated up there, showed those people what we're doing. Yesterday, I went up to Columbia, Connecticut. Up in Columbia, Connecticut, a 19-year-old kid was having his own event. I got T-shirts older than this kid. And he had three other young kids there too. A 22-year-old, a 17-year-old, another kid, I don't know, like let's say he's 20 years old. So what ended up happening is these three young kids, or four in total, were having their event. The kid's neighbor ended up coming over. I invited 4 other people myself that showed up. So like I said, half the event was people that I brought to the event. But like I said, in Little Columbia, Connecticut, I brought flags, flag poles, some banners, hung them up. The amount of beeps and interest that we had was absolutely amazing. So what I want to do is try to inspire other people to have these events like this in other parts of the state. Show them what we're doing. Teach them what we've learned. That way they don't have to have the learning curve that we have. You know what I mean? If you buy a piece of PVC, which I'll show you right now, what we've been doing with the PVC. This is just PVC pipe. It's half inch in diameter. Okay. We're using a piece of rebar. This piece of rebar is half inch in size. We cut it into 3 pieces. So now you have a piece of rebar that literally costs, I don't know, $9 or $10 in total. Cut it into 3 pieces. So let's say that costs you $3. This PVC up here on the roof, okay, that's $4. So between the two things, you got $7. Let's say you buy a flag. A flag is say $10. So for under $20, you got a flag, piece of PVC, and a piece of rebar. All right, and $20, you got one setup. Let's say you buy 10 of them. So now you got $200. You dished out to buy all this, right? So one person's got 10. You got 2 other friends. They buy 10 each. So now you got 30 flags, pieces of rebar, flag pole, some zip ties. 30 people with 30 flag or 3 people with 30 flags would look pretty good, just out there. I mean, I'm not even getting into banners or any of that, but you don't have to have 100 something flags like me. But if one person had 10, somebody else had 10, somebody else had 10, and you go out there on your local green with some signs or whatever the case may be, you can hand make your signs, you'll get the attention of all other people, and you can attract other people to you to get them involved. And that's what I'm trying to do, inspire other people to do this, to learn how to do this. I mean, that's what my goal is. I mean, get 10 people together. I'll come to your town. I'll show you what we're doing, and that's what I'm trying to do, is just show other people, get other people involved. I understand if, what we're doing is an hour away and you can't make it once, can't make it twice. But for example, I got 250 friends, quote unquote friends, that are patriots on my friends list. A lot of these people don't even go. All they do is get on the keyboard and type away angrily and get mad and blah, blah, blah. But they're not doing nothing. So why not take your anger instead of just fighting with people online and get out there, try to attract like-minded people, have a discussion with them, and let's get together and try to figure out how we can fix things. And that's all I've been trying to do. At the Cadillac Ranch, for example, when we've been having events over there, 12 to 3, we've been having outside events on the bridge and behind there. At 3 o'clock, we would go inside and we talk about all the different problems that we got in the state, medical freedom problems, voter registration, how we can get together, show other people how to register to vote, candidates like Jonathan here. Jonathan's been trying to get other people to register to become candidates for other parts of government, state reps and whatnot. And that's what he's been trying to do. So the Cadillac Ranch, what we've been trying to do is all the different parts of our, side of things is just try to get together and share information. And that's what I've been trying to do. Just these rallies are just a way of getting together to talk to like-minded people so we can get to the next step, you know what I mean, with voter registration and all that,
I think it's safe to say that, basically every American, I think, owns a American flag.
You would think.
I mean, and if you don't, it's not really that hard to find a flag, and but even if you don't have the flag, just show up without it. We have plenty of flags, you can wave one, so
100% agreed.
yeah, it's not that big of a deal. What we really need from people is to show up. What we really need from everyone is to come on and talk to us and try to make change, help us try to get everyone to register to vote, because the voting, it's hard here in Connecticut. I don't think enough Republicans go out and actually vote. And as a matter of the fact, I was sitting yesterday in a restaurant, and I was sitting at the bar because the restaurant was full and I couldn't get any table. And so I took the bar and I listened to a conversation that 2 people next to me had, and they were young. They were maybe 24, 22 years old. And the guy was explaining to a girl, how important it is to go out and vote. And she just completely disregarded it and said she doesn't care about, politics. She doesn't care to go out and vote. She's not interested in all of this. And then he proceeded to start to talking about how drugs are coming into this country and how easy it is to get them, and how many people he knows that are actually on drugs, and some of them are, recovering and stuff like that. And he also mentioned, and I was kind of a little shocked when I heard that, he mentioned during Biden, the drugs were just coming in and they were cheap, a lot cheaper than they were before. And I'm just like, holy shit. So I'm eating my wings, right? And I'm listening with one ear, what are they talking about? And I was a little bit taken by how many people don't pay attention to politics. They say oh, I'm not too interested in that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just thinking to myself, listen, if you're not interested who is running your country and what kind of moves you got to do, to survive, you can't ever be really dependent on anybody. You can't be dependent on government. You shouldn't be dependent on your parents. So political side of view of everything is going to help you manage your life in a way where you can, do better financially or better in other aspects. So it's just that what are we going to do to interest people here in Connecticut so they do pay attention? Because it's hard to do it with social media. If someone does not like politics, the algorithm in social media that you're using, TikTok, X, whatever, YouTube, is just not going to show you those clips. So, like, what can we do? I think what we can do is show up into towns where they, and I talked to James about that, where they are heavily democratic, and just to literally swing, and show up there, so, wave our flags and try to talk to people. I remember one time I went to Hartford. We were doing some kind of protest when our friend Paul was still here. And literally, like, some black people ran after me and they messed up our signs and stuff like that. So I started running towards them, and when they saw that, like, they left, but they messed up our signs. And I'm just like, yeah, keep doing this. Keep doing this. I was like, you're not going to win this against Trump, because this was still under Biden. So I am trying to figure it out on my side here and on my own. What can we do to get these people being interested and have Republicans in this state being more aggressive to, towards the voting, towards doing something so we can switch. Unfortunately, a lot of people that live here, they are older people. And those guys have no idea currently what the Democratic Party is all about. They still live in 30 years ago, in this mindset that Democrats are good, and they are unfortunately not. So
They only get, Agnes, they only get access, in most of your older folks only get access to CNN, MSNBC, and mainstream media, so they don't know. But I've discovered something while planning my event for Branson. If you plan an event that's not around politics, okay, and people come just to have a good time, at that point, you've got a chance for that one-on-one conversation. You've got a chance to talk to people who are not necessarily there for anything political. I have got so many people in this town so excited about coming out and doing a paint by numbers mural. We draw the mural on the wall, and everybody comes and they donate $5 to get a chance to paint a spot on the mural. People are so excited about coming and painting on a wall. What they don't realize is they're walking in to a mega patriot rally of like-minded people with the one goal is, number one, love them simply because they breathe, and to inform them that of things that they might not be aware of because all they ever hear is MSNBC and CNN. So you don't plan your rally for a flag wave. Only patriots are going to come to a flag wave. You've got to get where they are. You've got to bring them to you without the idea that it has anything to do with politics. Mine is all about bringing veterans and first responders together and thanking them for their services and what they do. But with 500 people there, we're going to change some minds. We're going to be passing out constitutions. Okay? We're going to be talking about our Patriot Convoy movement we had back in the 21s and 22 time. We'll talk about the times of Hagerstown and how unity happened and how over this we all became family. We're going to spread some love. It's love that's going to conquer it. It has nothing to do with waving flags. A flag gives a state when you stand down and you wave flags, the only ones who are going to show up to stand with you are like-minded flag wavers. I didn't want to bring just patriots to my event. I wanted the whole dang town to come. Everybody. Nothing to do with their political mind. It has to do, hey, I can paint a spot in that big old wall and forever I can come back to it and go, hey, you see that spot right there? I painted that. And we start with, and the thing is every one of them people coming to paint a spot on our wall, they got to register. Okay, which means I get their name and their email address, and I get the tickets that they get for pulling out for their prize winnings and things like that at raffles. I get their phone numbers, their names and their phone numbers. But they didn't come to wave a flag. They're not coming to be patriotic. They're coming to paint a mural on a wall.
Oh, there is something in what you're saying, Mona, definitely. I'm sorry to break it, but I want to welcome Anne-Marie and I want to welcome Marcia. They just joined our podcast here, so I just want to say hi to them so they don't feel like we don't see them at all.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
How you doing, Mona? Mona Miller.
Wonderful.
How you doing, man? I just want you to know that's an awesome idea. I never even thought about that. But I understand what she's saying. It's just like me, right? I do aggressive campaigning in the cities. These are Democrat strongholds. A lot of the people I talk to never met a Republican before, unfortunately. So if you wave them, see, in the Black community, right? In some Hispanic communities, they've been indoctrinated with a Marxist ideology in the public school system to feel like they don't belong to America. That America, the flag is against them. You see people seeing the flag. Sometimes it stirs up anger and resentment because
triggers them.
Yeah, because they're brainwashed, right? So being that they're brainwashed, sometimes you have to play off of your strengths, right? Let's talk about, like me. A lot of people in the Black community, they're programmed to base everything upon race, right? So being that I know this, I explained to them that the Republican Party was an abolitionist party. It was formed as an abolitionist party to free Black people from slavery, because that's a fact. That's not me making up a story, a false story. It's the fact. That's what the party was set up for. So I tried to captivate them from a historical, because I know that it's mind-blowing to them because they're not taught this in school. They're not taught that the reason why they don't know American history is because the Democrats control the public school system. And they don't want you to know American history, because if you knew American history, you wouldn't be a Democrat. So, what Mona Miller is saying is, if you attract people based upon the American flag, you're only going to bring in American patriots. But if you really want to flip seats and win elections, you have to gradually, like even James says, he tells me, bring some of your friends from the urban community. I'm like, bro, they're not ready for that yet. I'm still teaching them and trying to show them through my example. That's why I'm very glad that God put it in my heart to do what I'm doing, because it's needed, right? It's needed. I'm the bridge between the cities and the rural and the suburban communities. I live in a rural community. I live in the sticks, right? And I got Black people that actually tell me, "You live in Terryville? You're not afraid?" I'm like, "Afraid of what?" It's like them white people. It's like they're living in 1865. Like, these people are freaking paranoid, thinking that white people are gonna lynch you because you driving through these small. I'm like, bro, My neighbor, I had a rest in peace to one of my neighbors that passed away some years ago. But when her name was Beth, she gave me a key to her house. I had a key to her house. She used to bake cookies. I used to come home from work, open my mailbox to get my mail. She's the elderly white lady. She would bake cookies and put them in my mailbox. So when I came home from work, I would get cookies. I'm like, bro, you're not doing that in the hood. And in the urban communities, you say good morning to somebody, they're looking at you like you said something wrong to them. I live out here in Terryville. My white elderly lady neighbor, I got a key to her house. She's baking cookies, putting them in my mailbox. But in the black community, they think that I'm in danger. Like, you're out there with all the crazy white Republicans. I'm like, bro, listen, these are my family. They love me. They accept me for who I am. I don't try to change. I don't got to change how I talk or the way I dress to try to fit in. I'm just myself. And I think that this is very important to educate. It's like freeing the slaves all over again, in my opinion. They're just psychologically, they don't even realize it. And that's our duty as Republicans. Because for so long, Connecticut has controlled opposition. Republicans don't want to talk about certain issues because they don't want to be classified as this or that. I'm like, you got to push back. And I think what Mona is saying is very wise. Now, not to take anything away from what James is doing, because in certain areas, that's very important because you got to keep patriotism alive. But in the urban communities, it's not going to work. That method won't work. It's actually going to hurt you because as soon as they see you with a Trump hat and American flag, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, and they're not going to listen to you.
They've already shut down. They've already shut down.
Exactly.
And you're not going to get nowhere.
Exactly.
And what I'm finding is that this simple thing of finding a wall, getting some artists to draw a picture on it that needs to be painted, put numbers in it, and invite people to come out and paint on a wall. Mm-hmm. Legally be able to paint on a wall. Mm-hmm. You'll get people from all walks of life with all different kinds of mind thinking. You want to save the sinner. You don't go preach in a church. You go preach in a bodega. Okay. You want to get the black vote. You got to go to the black community. You've got to speak their language. Offer them a meal of greens and chitlins. Okay. We're gonna have a greens and chitlins feed. You can't change somebody's mind if you can't get face to face with them and show them your heart, not your patriotism. Yeah. It's love that's going to conquer this. Just like you said about, people think that they're going out to kill you or whatever. I experienced that, believe it or not, at a Best Buy, sitting and waiting for my turn to get my computer fixed. And there was this big black guy, and I looked at him and said, "Oh, well, hi, you'd have thought wait a minute, you shouldn't be talking to me because you're white and I'm black." I said, "I don't see your skin. I'm sorry, I don't feel that way. Give me a hug, boy. Yeah. Brother, bro, give me a hug." And you'd be surprised. We ended up with one of the greatest conversations, about 35-minute wait to get my turn. And we sat there and we ended up talking politics. Yeah. And he had no idea that a lot of things were going on because he'd been listening to mainstream media. Yeah. Well, we started bringing up some subject and he was like, I said, here's a couple of channels you can go to on YouTube. And I wrote him down some channels. Okay. I mean, I think I put Barry Cunningham and I put, Ben Dykes, and I put Glenn Beck, and I put some other one. I said, go on YouTube and watch some of these.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Exactly. All I need to do is get them to change the channels they're watching.
Yeah, they're being brainwashed. Yep, right.
Right, because once your eyes are open, they won't close again. No. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But if they're not looking, and you're not where they are at, That's why I'm so excited. This event comes up November the 8th, and all over town it's the buzz. And nobody's talking about it in Democratic Republic concepts. They're talking about it in art concepts, becoming a part of history, becoming a part of an attraction. Don't just go watch an attraction, create an attraction. Because ours is an I Spy wall that makes people come over and actually have to look to see what they can find. And in that whole realm of things, people are going to get a chance to talk to us patriots. They're going to get to see the love that we have for them. I don't care what your politics are. I'm going to love you because God gave you breath. And that's all that really matters. And let's start with that. Can we love one another? And from that, we can build on unwiring their hardwired programming. Okay? We can create a glitch in their brainwashing. And all we got to do is create one little glitch, and it'll grow from there. But you've got to get people to come where you are.
I don't know, Mona, if loving everybody is actually possible. Because I do not know if I can love transgender.
Yeah, I
Especially,
don't want to. Again, the problem we have, Connecticut, maybe Missouri is different than Connecticut, but we are very polarized here in this state. Usually, you're on one side or the other, with a lot of the middle not caring about anything. And I wanted to bring that back to what we were talking about earlier with elections. From what I understand, generally around Connecticut, there's only like 20% of the population voting, give or take. You know what I mean? And I was talking to Steve Oresco, who's running for the mayor of New Haven, a couple of weeks ago. I went down to his event and I talked to him up in Hartford. And he told me, this is what he said. He said only 8% of New Haven votes.
wow.
8% votes in New Haven. Again, New Haven's one of our bigger cities in this state. And only 8% votes. You know what I mean? So, and then like I said, I know Jonathan's from Waterbury, and I know over there only like 20% votes. And again, I was talking to a kid down in the valley, in Seymour or Naugatuck, one of those little small towns, and he was saying the same thing. They only had like 18% or something of the people that voted down there. It's just lack of interest in all of this, which again could come back to what Mona was saying about using a different way of attracting people, and I get that too. But also too, coming back to what you and Jonathan were both saying, if we go to other places, what we need to do, I think starting with the Republican towns and using those. Yeah, somebody's doing whatever. I
Somebody's
don't know what
got
that is.
both YouTube and StreamYard on.
No, not
If
me.
you're on StreamYard, you got to silence YouTube.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking is if we can go around to some of the Republican towns, gather up some patriots. That way, like for example, I was telling you about, we went to Hamden earlier today, and there was like 70 of them and like 10 of us, and we were way outnumbered. But if we went to some of the Republican towns first, gathered up some people that are on our side, okay, so it's not like we're looking like we're weak because there's only 10 of us and there's 70 of them. So we can gather up some patriots from some of these Republican towns and then go to, you know what I mean, the cities that are liberal and whatnot. So it doesn't look like there's only 10 of us there. We maybe got 50 or 60 of us that can go to some of these places. But I think we need to go get some numbers on our side, which is what I was talking about earlier in this podcast. Whereas it seems to be we're in the same different group. So with that being said, here's another thought. Back when I was telling you about the September Cadillac Ranch event that we had, and only 30 or 40 people showed up. 8 days later, okay, there was another event because from when we had our event on Saturday, Charlie Kirk got shot on Wednesday. Then the CTGOP had an event there the following Sunday, which was 8 days later, and that place was packed. That place was beyond packed. I don't know. I was told by Graham there was 10,000 people there. Meanwhile, like I said, the week before, I couldn't get 40 people there. Meanwhile, like I said, all the events that we ever had there, we maybe had 100 or 200 people there. So let's say they even only had 3,000 people there at the Cadillac Ranch after Charlie Kirk got shot. That showed me that we do have people, they just will not come out. All right. With that being said, a week after that event, there was another event in Glastonbury that Jonathan spoke at. And if I had to guess, there were 600 or 700 people that showed up to that, which was still by far larger than any event that I've been able to gather people at, which there's another part of the whole story too, was Connecticut for Trump, Palin's group. Palin's group had 7,200 people in it before Charlie Kirk got shot. And again, Palin's group would only, I don't know, maybe to get 30 people a week that would join it. Was very slow growth. It took them, let's say, 10 years to get to 7,000 people. After Charlie Kirk got shot, I watched that group grow 3,000 people in 30 days. So his group grew by a third in 30 days. So that showed me that we do have a lot of people that are interested in being on our side. And I've talked to people too that have so many Democrats that have swapped sides, but we need to get them up off the couch and actually involved, because being just on the keyboard typing mad and angry is where I was at a year and a half ago. You know what I mean? Somebody would say something or put up a meme and I'm mad and I'm angry and I want to get my viewpoint out there. And I'd spend 45 minutes writing all the different points that I was right about and all these different things. And then afterwards, after a while, I realized these people probably aren't even reading what I'm writing. I wasted all this time writing stuff. And that's what finally got me involved and up off the couch and finally going to my first rally and event. And again, I remember meeting you there, Agnes, because our mutual friend sent me so many of your videos of all the stuff that you used to put out there. I felt like I already knew you, even though I never met you before. You introduced me to a bunch of different people at the first Rocking Horse event that we went to. And that's where I met Jude and Ann and a bunch of other people. Yeah. But the whole point of that was I had to get mad enough to get up off the couch and get involved, because I figured out that just typing stuff on the computer wasn't going to fix anything. And my way of getting involved was going out there, doing flag waves, helping Steve out initially, learning what Steve was doing. And that made me feel better, not just being at home arguing on the computer with people. And again, going out there and seeing other people, the big smile on their face, you know what I mean? I felt alone for 2020, 2021. And you know what I mean? And then finally I went to the Marjorie Taylor Greene event up in Plainfield late 2021. And I saw there was 3,000 people there. And that showed me that I wasn't alone, but I just hadn't found my tribe yet. So from 2021 to 2024, I was looking for those people. And in 2022, when the truckers went down to DC over at the Cadillac Ranch, people organically just showed up. And there was 500, 700 people that showed up there just organically, which again showed me that we have the people here in Connecticut, but they just don't seem to come out for whatever reason. They're not involved. And that's what I've been trying to do, is have these events that try to attract like-minded people so they could see, because not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's on X, not everybody's on Rumble or whatever true social. But if you see me driving by on this side of the road, maybe you'll stop and talk. Maybe we can gather you in. Maybe you won't come this week, but maybe you'll come next week to the next event that somebody's going to have there. I can't be to everything, but what I want to do is go around to different towns, try to show people what we're doing, inspire them, get them involved, make a contact, get a connection with them, get their phone number, get them to connect to me, whatever platform they're on. So when we do have an event somewhere, I can invite them and get them to come, and I'll likewise go to their events or bring people to their events. Like I was just telling you, I went to Columbia and I brought 4 people to that yesterday. And again, I get it, last minute, everybody can't show up. But if I got 100 people that I can go through my phone and 5 or 10 show up, that can make a difference. And then those people that are there in that town can see what we are all trying to do. I mean, I don't have the big platform like you have, Agnes, and Jonathan's got a growing platform as well. I don't have that. I'm not running for nothing, but I want to connect everybody. And again, I've been doing everything I can to connect people to Jonathan, because I think he's going to win. I have that in my heart. I feel it. And if we can get more people to get involved, I'm not even in Jonathan's district, and people don't have to be in Jonathan's district to help him out. And that's the message I'm trying to show. That along with voter registration, I've been helping Lorraine Herger and Anna Hearn, who are both doing voter registration. We got our other friend Matt, who's making up stickers with the QR codes of the state of Connecticut. And again, these are all small things that aren't costing a lot of money that we can all do by connecting people. Yeah, exactly. Jonathan's got holding up a sticker. These are all small things. And like yesterday when I was in Columbia, I was handing out those stickers, giving them the speech, and just talking to people. For example, John Garland, who I got introduced to, had a talk with me back in April, which really struck a chord with me. And what he said, because he's a felon, he basically told me, and again, he's telling me about felons. We need to get them on our side. And I winced and made a face. And he goes, listen, he goes, there's 30 million felons in this country that can now vote thanks to President Trump. And this is what struck me. He goes, if we don't get them on our side, the Democrats will.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty profound. And so, again, every time I tell people that, I'm like, when I'm handing out these stickers, I'm like, listen, felons can now vote. And again, they make the same face that I probably made to John Garland. But with that being said, I'm like, if we don't get them on our side, the Democrats will. And then they see the light like I did. And also, too, what Jonathan has told me and other people have as well is in Connecticut, I guess you can vote on probation now, too. And 17-year-olds can now vote, too, in a primary election as long as they're 18 by election day. So these little small messages that I'm not just doing a flag wave. You know what I mean? I'm educating, handing out voter registration people, stickers. Like the two women who I saw yesterday in Columbia, one said like, yeah, I used to be a Democrat, and one said I was independent. Well, I'm like, here's this thing, here's this little QR code. Go check it for yourself. Go change it. And I said, and then the other thing that everybody always tells me is, I'm already registered to vote. I'm like, great. Do you know other human beings? Do you talk to other human beings? You know what I mean? And then that 17-year-old kid is in high school. I gave him stickers. Go talk to your friends. You got cousins, and you know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, go talk to people. So again, I'm doing a flag wave, but I'm trying to do education as well, and that's my message. And then try to tell these people of how little people are actually voting. And Jonathan can tell you about the primary that was in Waterbury that got won by 6 votes. Am I wrong, Jonathan?
No, you're right.
6 votes. You know what I mean? The amount of people you could fit inside of a car made a difference in an election, in a primary election.
Now, he lost by 5 votes. So if 6 more people would have showed up, he would have won. So, but the thing that we have to talk about is why people don't want to vote. And the reason why people don't want to vote is, or they're not interested in it is because they never see anything change. And that's what I want to do. I want to educate people on why nothing changes. The reason why nothing changes is because for far too long, the Democrats had controlled opposition, meaning Democrats that are pretending to be Republicans. And they run on a Republican line, but they're really not Republican at heart. They're really Democrats. So the opposition is controlled, right? They pretend that they're against X, Y, and Z, but really they vote along. They vote with the Democrats. That's why you got to look at the roll call in the state house and in the state senate, and start holding these elected officials accountable. But they know that most of us, we got 9 to 5s, we're working, or we got businesses. People don't take the time to look it up, but it doesn't take much time at all. If you know that there's a bill that's pending, and you start going to the Capitol and you watch these people and you hold them to accountable and let them know, I'm going to watch the roll call and I'm going to see how you voted on this bill. And if you vote a certain way, I'm going to expose you. That's why they call the state police on, because I'm exposing what's going on in the state capitol. Once you start revealing that stuff to the average person, you know why your roads don't get fixed? It's because your board of aldermen and the mayor are corrupt, and they're working with these corrupt contractors that's just stealing your tax dollars. So if you want that to stop, you got to run your neighbor. Run your neighbor for the board of aldermen, city council member. People that are at Walmart, they make 40 grand a year or whatever. It's time to put them in the state capitol. You don't need a college degree to be a state rep. All you got to do is know how to count, read, add, have common sense, and go up in there and represent your people in your district. That's it. We all think that we need this magical degree. We need permission to run for public office. You don't need nobody's permission. Nobody gave me permission to run. They actually don't want me to run. They want me off the way because they can't control me. I'm not control opposition. I'm not going to play nice with Gianna Hayes. Just like yesterday in Grace Baptist Church in Waterbury, Connecticut, Gianna Hayes was in her church in Waterbury telling black people that the reason why their SNAP benefits are going to slow up is because Donald Trump and the Republicans is blocking the SNAP. No, you're blocking SNAP benefits. And when I talk about black, and I'm not talking about all black people's on SNAP. So anybody that's black that's watching this, or anybody thinking I'm saying black people on SNAP, I'm just talking about the ones that are on SNAP. She's trying to put fear in them to hate Republicans, to say Donald Trump is taking away your benefits. Donald Trump is not blocking your benefits. First of all, in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, you need 60 votes for a budget to pass. The Republican Party only has 53 seats. Luckily, people like Fetterman out of Pennsylvania, who's a Democrat, he voted with the Republicans. But we're still short, 6 votes in order for the budget to pass. I think they got one independent that agreed, but we don't have enough votes to pass. For it has to pass the Senate to get to the president's desk for him to sign it into law. But they're blocking the bill because the Republicans want to make it a mandatory requirement to exclude illegals from benefiting from that federal funding. And that's what the Democrats are fighting for. They're fighting for their illegals, not for American citizens. So
that's a big problem for them, that we want to exclude illegals from getting a healthcare insurance for free. It's crazy. I expressed my thoughts. My insurance is $700. Because I want a certain coverage currently for my health, and it's expensive. And on top of that $700 a month, it's $5,000 deductible for whatever I want to be doing. I have to first hit that $5,000. So imagine 700 times 12 and plus $5,000. It's like a lot of money, and I really don't make that much money. So that is a huge chunk out of anybody's basically paycheck. So why do people who broke the law came here illegally? Because when you come here and stay here without visa, then you break the law, and then you're being rewarded with healthcare. So why don't we all can get a free healthcare? Why can't I get a free healthcare? But everyone else who comes here, breaks the law, is rewarded with free healthcare? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here?
They're creating
or free housing.
Yeah, free housing. Right. Yep. They gave
no
businesses.
one should get a free house as long as there is a veteran sleeping on the street.
Yeah.
Period.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And did you guys see that Newsom actually has admitted he was giving a free healthcare to illegals for 22 years since he was mayor? He admitted in California.
Really?
And I'm like, what the fuck? What?
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's crazy.
With all that homelessness going on in California, you was giving it to illegals?
It's so bad there. It's so bad. And now they're actually investigating like millions of dollars was passed to some investors that were supposed to build housing for homelessness, and it just disappeared. It was never invested in those places where they wanted to accept the homeless people. So now there's a huge investigation actually launched, and I was like, finally, thank you. And then now also, Trump has said that he is going to send poll watchers to California, so they're not going to set up, illegals voting. Newsom is going nuts. I
Yeah,
was like, yes, this
right.
is what we need, and we need to actually make our elections fair and safe for everybody to vote, and fair. They
Right.
need to be fair. This is not a third world country when you can just freaking do whatever you want, buy votes, buy people that are gonna vote, like this is America. We should
Yeah.
be example to the whole entire world how we do things, and we cannot have an honest election. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, this country just seems to be so corrupted. And I always thought Ukraine is corrupted, Poland is corrupted, like you used to get stopped, with the police, you gave them $20 and they let you go. That's how corrupted it was, and
Wow.
I came here and I was like, well, maybe it's not that bad. No, it's actually bad.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the super train they had in California that they've been working on forever? That's I don't know how many times over budget, and basically they're just stealing the money.
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, look into that. California, there's a train that's supposed to have been done like 10 years ago. I don't know, it could be billions of dollars, and it's nowhere near. It's I think Trump may even just recently said, "No what, no more money for it." But like I said, it's you have to look it up. There's a super train that was supposed to happen in California. And what it comes down to, they just are stealing the money that was, you know what I mean, that they were given from the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
So Anne Marie and Marcia, are you guys there?
Yeah, I am now.
Okay, perfect. You
I was having
sounded
phone issues.
yeah. Marcia?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm here.
So what do you
I
guys,
mean,
what do you ladies think about illegals that are set up for voting and getting free healthcare?
I definitely am against it. You
Yeah.
know? To-
yeah, we have they say it's not a sanctuary city here, but we have, I believe, a very large community of illegals. And I pay my taxes. I, work, and I don't like to see taxpayer dollars wasted. And my mother came here legally, right?
Tell them where here is, Marcia.
Oh, my Norwich, right? My,
Yeah.
actually, my father was in the military, right? But he came to the she came to the United States legally, and I was given that question at a debate. Would you cooperate with ICE? And I said, absolutely, I would, cooperate with ICE. We're Americans, right? And there were a lot of Democrats in the audience, and they were like chattering. And then someone went, wow. And I went, yeah, wow. Because they're changing our culture. There was one story, if I have a minute to share, of in the newspaper of a woman who complained there were no Creole translators at the welfare office because she needed money to pay her mortgage. And I thought, well, you know what? That would be nice to have someone pay for my mortgage, right? And
Wait, she
yeah,
wanted someone to pay for her mortgage? How does that work?
that's what I was wondering, but it was in the paper. Her direct quote was, if I can't get welfare benefits, how am I supposed to pay my mortgage?
The
Oh,
government, the
so
government's not your daddy.
And
oh
I
my
was like, wow, right? Like they were. Yeah. And then we have a lot of crime here, not just because of the immigrants, but also we have casino gangs, and it's not safe. And there's a lot of support for the immigrants. In fact, during that debate, the Democratic candidate said, "I don't want to see the people of Norwich being kidnapped by the ICE." And I was just like, right, and the problem here is posting it like it's a good thing, right? Like it's okay to break our laws and disregard, crime. I That's just where I stand. There's a way to come here legally. There's a way to be legal. I don't agree with resistance as representation because that's what it seems like he's doing. Almost radicalization. I love my neighbors, most of them, right? But if you're not here legally, it that's a crime in of itself. So that's where I stand. I agree with a lot of what everyone's saying.
Another part of it too is these people, again, the people that are not coming here legally are now we're leeching off of us.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? We have American citizens here that could use help, but instead we're giving it to these people who don't necessarily belong here. I mean, again, I'm not against legal immigration. I'm against the illegal immigration.
Right.
Another thing that I found, there's a couple things that I found recently, which I found, again, I had heard the 30 million illegals that are here. That I'd known for a long time. But another number that I found that was absolutely shocking to me was the H-1Bs. And if people don't know what an H-1B is, that is a work visa. I just recently found out,
Yeah.
and again, numerous other people told me that that have corroborated this because I told them this number that I had heard that was absolutely stunning to me, and other people have agreed. Yeah, they've heard that same number. I've heard that there's 50 million H-1Bs here. So you have 50 million H-1Bs along with 30 million illegals. That's 80 million people who don't necessarily belong here. That's like a quarter of the country. You know what I mean? Which that number was absolutely stunning to me.
Are we talking about
So if I
50
can
million
speak,
still have like hold that type of visa, or are we talking about ones who stayed?
I've heard that the H-1Bs are the work visas is one number, and then the 30 million are just illegals that you know what I mean. I'm not sure if they came in and overstayed or they came in under Biden,
so
but Marsha can tell you
yeah,
that
if I
she's
can
been a victim of the H-1Bs because she can't find a job or couldn't before.
right. So I'm a contractor, consultant in tech. Okay. I've worked for, State Department of Education revenue. I've done some public sector contracts, but in the private sector, I work with like Intel, who gets a great amount of H-1Bs or microchip. And it's not just India, although a lot of H-1Bs now are mostly, from that area. Um, they're bringing in people from, say, Canada, right, or anywhere like that. And I was actually not given an opportunity for leadership position uh, over someone who was a H-1B holder. And I was like, I got my degree here. I paid into the education system here, and I don't get this opportunity, right? I have more experience, right? And more education. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't get that opportunity, but he did. So I noticed that. I was at Pearson when they first started offshoring people. So let's start there. So they got rid of entire departments for sure because it's cheaper. They don't have to pay the benefits. And I thought for sure that like in the public sector in government they wouldn't be able to offshore that, but then they were bringing in people with H-1Bs, and I'd go to interviews and they have a hierarchy. They really do. And they like to hire other people who are from their area, country, whatever. It's not racist, it's what really happens. And the final one was they just raised the amount of money that the H-1B holders were required to get paid to like 72,000, and I believe it was 2012, at least at Visa, like child of Visa, right? And I thought, oh, good. That means that qualified locals or citizens would get those jobs, but that didn't happen. They just paid them more, right? And ultimately, it's upsetting when you see someone who is an amazing programmer working at a gas station, looking for a job in tech. This was in my neighborhood. But there's all these people from other countries, you know, doing jobs that Americans are qualified for, can do, and could definitely do at the same level, right? So I was really glad to hear that Trump was doing something about the H-1B visas, because it's not right. It's really taking away from our economy, our workforce, and morale wise, it's really upsetting when you can't get a contract, you know, but they brought in some H-1B. Yeah.
Can I
So
speak to
that's
some
my
of this?
insight.
So I'm 51 years old. So I graduated in 1992. So that was the era when Bill Clinton got in, and then that's when NAFTA kind of really got started. And I've worked in manufacturing. I graduated from a tech high school, and this is what I've done for the most part, is basically worked in manufacturing. So when I started working in manufacturing back in 1992, and NAFTA started really getting going, I worked somewhere for a couple of years. I got laid off. All right, whatever. It happened once. I moved away, moved to a different state for a little bit. Wasn't up there very long. Again, I'm 20 years old, don't know a whole lot. I got laid off again. I mean, all right, well, that's just a coincidence, whatever the case may be. I moved back from up there. I was up where I was at for a couple of years. I came back. I got laid off again. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Why do I keep getting laid off? Well, I'm young. I don't have a lot of experience. And I kept getting laid off because all these jobs are going away. Well, over the course of my last 30 years in this career field, working in manufacturing, I've been laid off like 6 times. And again, because you can make stuff in other countries and ship it back here. Well, again, I was very naive. All I know is I kept getting laid off. You know, you're the last guy in the door. So the guy who's got 30 years experience or 20 years worth of experience or loyalty to the company. And I just showed up a year ago and something gets slow and they got to let some people go. Well, this guy's only been here a year. Let's let him go. We're not going to lay off the guy who's been here 25 years. And it wasn't until I started understanding over the last 5-6 years and learning that all these jobs were shipped overseas and all this has been going on. And this is why, you know what I mean? At 41 years or 45 years old, going back like 6 years ago, in the tool room, there was a 21-year-old. I was 45 at the time. So I was the second youngest guy in the tool room at 45 because a lot of people just didn't want to be involved with this trade anymore. So now here we are. I'm an old guy. I'm 51 years old. A lot of these older people have now retired. Now I'm kind of like one of the older guys in the tool room. Now they need my experience and my, you know what I mean? Because now here we are in this situation, which is why I'm excited for what's going on, because what's going on with all these tariffs are going to bring jobs back to America, which is going to bring manufacturing back to America. And now I am going to be needed for my experience because all the people that were older than me have now all retired and have left the trade because they're so old. So again, we used to make everything in America before 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. We used to make everything here, steel, you know what I mean? Clothes, everything. And I'm telling you guys, go look at anything that you have. Very little is made here anymore. So I don't care what it is, your socks, your underwear, your shoes, your pants, anything, is just not made here anymore. Even the cars that were traditionally made here, for example, like Chevy, they're made in
I saw
Canada
a
or
lot.
made in Mexico. Or my girlfriend had a Chevy Trailblazer that was made by somewhere in North Korea, South Korea. But the cars that traditionally were not made here, like Toyota or Volkswagen or Kia, now those cars are being made here, or the cars that were used to be made here are now made in Mexico. Well, all that's going to change with these tariffs because it's no longer going to be profitable. Here's another thing too. Back during the COVID days of 2021, 2022, remember there was computer chip shortages and all these other different things that were going on. Well, the big deal with that was all this stuff was trapped on container ships.
Yeah.
Well, if we're making it all in America, nothing's going to get trapped in container ships. So, but
We
we
make
need to
we make stuff.
educate the people about all this stuff.
And also all these cheap products that comes from overseas, like they're first sometimes getting it says made in Bangladesh, and I'm like, holy shit, that's kind of far. I mean, so it's cheaper to hire those people and pay for transportation here, than is to make the product here in the United States. I get it. We are going to be paying for it a little bit more because obviously you have to pay your workers, probably your cost of running the whole entire company is going to be more. But you know what? To be honest with you, instead of me buying a shirt that is $10 and it's literally going to get destroyed in a laundry, I'm okay paying $20 to $30 for a shirt that is going to be 100% cotton, and then I don't have to worry about it, and at least have it for a year or two. I'm completely okay with that, and whenever I can, I'm always happy to buy American stuff, but you can't really find it that much anymore. Like
Right.
you said, so I do
And,
hope.
and that's another thing you got to be careful of is very slick wording. The wording where it's made in America or assembled in America with globally sourced pieces. So basically, what that means is all the pieces of this, whatever it is made elsewhere, and then they bring all the pieces to America, and then somebody just puts all the pieces that are made elsewhere together here. Like for example, if you look on some of the tools, like DeWalt tools, I've noticed it on made in America with globally sourced materials. So what that means is all the pieces of the, let's say, the drill are all made all around the world. So they bring all the 200 pieces of this drill here in America, and somebody just puts the pieces together that are all made elsewhere. So you got to be very careful of the wording on what it says.
I
I'm
totally
I'm more
agree.
disturbed that I'm more disturbed that in a lot of the third world countries, especially, they're slave labor. I mean, they're using kids. They're that's why they're getting it there because they can get it cheaper. And it's like, I'm sorry, but when everything was made in America, we had pride in what we were doing, and we were very careful about everything that we did. We didn't pollute the area. They don't care. They're killing children out there, and that's really pissing me off. So I'm really
Well,
hoping Trump puts a total end to all of that. They
well,
think he is. Well, I know that he's bringing manufacturers in here to start very large companies. I don't work anymore, so it isn't going to impact me other than as a customer. And I don't like buying crap that breaks in a year.
well, you make a good point there too, because I used to, again, out of like the top 20 most polluted places in the world, 16 of them are in China.
Right.
Okay, so with that being said, somebody had written something that struck a chord with me, and I'm like, well, basically, China is the one making everything in the world, so it only makes sense that they would have all the smog and the pollution over there because they're the ones making everything for the whole entire world there.
Yeah, but it
Which-
blows across the Pacific Ocean and comes straight to California.
Right, agreed. But the whole point was that's why it's so polluted there, is they're the ones making all the stuff for everybody. And again, I'm not saying they're doing everything in the right way, but I guess if you're making stuff for the whole entire world because you're making cheap stuff, probably using slave labor, like you're saying, like I said, I guess that makes sense. And again, in America too, from China, I remember toys coming from China with lead paint on them for kids. I remember the drywall down in Florida when they were having houses built after a hurricane, and we couldn't get drywall fast enough, so they imported it from China. Then a couple years later, the houses had to be condemned because the drywall is toxic. I remember dog food coming from China. People's pets were dying because the pet food was contaminated. These people don't have standards, or they don't care. Or what would end up happening was they would say catch it in a port in Louisiana, then they would ship it over to California because they got caught in here. Well, then they got caught over there. Well, they brought it to New York. Well, then it snuck through in New York. I mean, that's what they were doing with all this stuff that, you know, it was basically poison to us, but they would move it around to different ports so they could get around, you know what I mean, not getting caught.
So if I can say something, I was making these little robots, and the servos came from China, and they were like $1 a piece, very cheap. But there's no reason we couldn't make that here. So I started looking for made in the USA similar products. And these are like the helicopter or RC car servos that they use. There's like a motor, like a stepper motor. We could make those here, and it wouldn't be that expensive, but maybe there's not such a margin of profit or whatever. I personally would buy them if they were made, if I could find them made in the USA. But the ones made here were more high-end industrial robotics, you know, $60 a servo, you know, way more power than I needed. And I started thinking about it like, wait a second, these are just motors. Why can't we make these in the US? Why haven't we? Because we were relying on China, right? And as someone who wants to make something, especially made in the USA, you have some challenges in finding competitive products, and some of these servers were dead on arrival. I'll be honest, you know, I'd get 100, I'd have to throw out at least, you know, 6 or 7, right? And so, you know, if I was on a larger scale, that would be terrible as well. You might as well buy it at a higher cost for better quality. Anyway, just wanted to mention that.
I have something even simpler than that I could talk about. About 10, 12 years ago, I got an apartment and I needed towels and washcloths. As something as simple as towels and washcloths. Something pretty basic. We make all kinds of cotton in the South. You would think we should be able to get towels and washcloths made in America. I went to 7 different stores. You know what I mean? Kohl's, Lowe's, Target, some stores at the mall. Again, all the local stores that we would all normally go to around here. 7 different stores. I could not find towels and washcloths made in America. And then finally, I said, well, I just went with Walmart, and they were made wherever. But something as basic and simple as towels and washcloths couldn't get made in America. Like I said, that was like 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, because we let all these companies move up from here, you know, and then now we don't have enough companies paying taxes here, where we usually, you know, have to flip the bill ourselves with real estate or anything else, basically, because, you know, in Connecticut, your mill rate is dependent on how many companies are paying into the town with their taxes and everything that they're doing. And, you know, the least companies that we have, the more the homeowners have to flip the bill for everything. So that's a problem.
So that could lead us into a segue with Marcia. And Marcia's town in Norwich that has like 200 of what are those nonprofits in Norwich, Marcia?
Well, I heard it was a lot more than that. But, you know, it changes. They said that after COVID, thousands more opened, right? But maybe they're not as prominent or well funded. But the ones that are here, they're not, in my opinion, being audited at all, right? We just, our town with the state gave some money to a church, and it was for rehabbing the building. And they said in the newspaper publicly that they would be using those funds for ESL, for teaching English to their congregation. And I was like, no, you're not. What is this? And to say it outright in the newspaper, like, you know, the nonprofit got these funds, and then for them to say, we're not using them for what they were determined for, like, who's doing the audits on these nonprofits? And then I found out 4 years ago, one of the mayoral candidates had actually said, we can't do a full audit of NCDC, which is Norwich Community Development Corp. There never has been one. We can't do it because they're a nonprofit. And the current mayor, the one who won, Pete Mestrom, said, well, I fully trust the comptroller. Well, that doesn't matter. We're giving them monies, they're getting grants, they're getting all kinds of monies to do these projects, and we can't audit where the money's going? That seems a little, you know, to me, I heard something that the state was now looking into audits of nonprofits, right? But can you imagine? Like, here you go, $7 million to improve the waterfront. Oh, don't worry, you won't be audited. You know, because you're a nonprofit, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big problem.
I mean, I also think you guys, you know, like it's crazy with you know, permitting and zoning and environmental reviews to just even open anything here in Connecticut. It is so freaking hard to open a business here. And then like you can't ever predict your tax. What is it gonna be? How much is it gonna be? You know, and they also ask 6.35 sales tax, which basically is any type of service or any type of business almost, you know, that needs to always basically pay that. I mean, what do we do to like have even like smaller people, you know, entrepreneurs opening any businesses here? Like, we need businesses in Connecticut, because I do feel like a lot of people left Connecticut. They left during COVID and right after COVID, because whenever the real estate boom happened, you know, your house went up so much that you could easily just sell your house and move somewhere else. So I don't think we have tax clarity and stability really in Connecticut or anywhere else at this point. So, you know, people can open. Yeah, like to simplify the regulations. Like I wanted to open, I mean, it was me, not me personally, but my boss. I wanted to open a liquor store. Okay, because that's one of the most profitable businesses basically. You know, you can't go wrong on a liquor store. And it was absolutely impossible to open another one because they were like, oh, we have too many in a town, you know, and this and that and the other thing. I get that. I get there's too many, but, you know, it's a business. And yeah, I get that, you know, people shouldn't maybe have such an easy way of just getting an alcohol. But at this point, you have to also look at the point where people wanted to create jobs. You're not letting them because you don't like the business that they're trying to open. You know how many vape shops has opened on the Polish Street where I live? It's disgusting. There's at least 10 of them on Broad Street here in New Britain, where they're selling a lot of different products. I'm not quite sure if they're selling anything with weed, but the whole entire Broad Street now stinks like weed. And that's all the business that they're basically allowing to open. Another business we wanted to open was pierogi. It was a restaurant that we wanted, and that would make only pierogies with certain type of different type of fillings, not not only the ones that Polish people eat, but a lot of different ones. And we know that this would be a good business, especially where I am, because there's a lot of people that drive from like an hour away to just get pierogies, and especially for holidays, it's popular. It's a big Polish community, and anything Polish basically in that area, it's a niche. So now we have to deal with the town, right? With the city. And so what happens, the city was like, well, you can't have a restaurant here because you don't have a designated parking. And I'm like, hold on a second. So I can't just use the street parking? No, no, you cannot. You have to have a designated parking. So that means you have to get a special place somewhere that is going to be dedicated to that restaurant. And I said, so you guys basically don't care that we're going to open a business, hire people, pay taxes, and actually give your revenue in your parking meters in front of that restaurant. You're going to shut me down because I don't have parking. And then I talked to the inspector, and he said, I used to work in Waterbury, and Waterbury doesn't have that, permitting or whatever you call that you can have restaurant or you can sell food anywhere basically. But if you want to have a sit down restaurant in New Britain, you have to have a designated parking. And I said, is there any way around this? No, it isn't. And every single place that we looked at on Broad Street in New Britain, where there is a Polish community, that they go there, there's a church, there's like million restaurants basic. Well, I know, maybe I'm exaggerating, but like 5 or 6 restaurants you can go to. And they shut us down. They shut us down with both businesses. And I'm like, there's only so many businesses that you can open in this area. I said, and in New Britain, because you have to always think that you need to have a clientele, and you need to have to think what kind of clientele you're going to have. I'm sorry that the liquor store is one of them, and unfortunately there is a lot of people that drink in New Britain, but it is what it is. Obviously, if you are an entrepreneur, you're going to look at the other things from the business standpoint. So here we are, we've been shut down twice, and now we don't have any other type of idea of what kind of business we could open in New Britain. Like, I don't know. I would love to open something, but I need to know and think that it's going to be successful and people are going to come. And I brought it to the Facebook group, and people are, well, activities for kids and this and that, and I was like, do you understand that most people in New Britain are Section 8 people, low income people, affordable housing, whatever, people make low minimum wage, they're low income. You really think that these guys are bringing kids to activities that they're going to pay for? And I'm like, what else is there for me to really think about? And I'm going to be successful opening in New Britain.
What what about a food truck with your pierogi idea?
We already have a couple food trucks that are doing different type of food, and they're doing okay, I guess. They are being invited to certain events, but the idea that we have, it was a little bit more permanent. It's really hard to work in a food truck. To be honest with you, I've watched some people, and I watched some shows with food trucks, and it's extremely hard because you gotta run a generator, it's a lot more complex. Me personally, if someone offered me a job in the food truck, I would just say no right then and there.
I just didn't know if you could prepare the food somewhere else, roughly. You know what I mean? Get the main part of it done, and then quickly cook it there or warm it up, but not actually have to create the whole item. You'd have a kitchen. I know there's a cottage license to do that, create it somewhere else, and then bring it there. And however you actually cook the item on the truck is what I was thinking.
Yeah, there is actually a lot of a lot. I mean, I know a few ladies that are just kind of running a business out of their home. They're making pierogies at home and they're selling them to whomever wants to order them. So it does not have, their kitchen, it does not have, it's not prepared for business and stuff like that. They're just making them and selling them to friends, let's say. The
Right.
idea had would have been a lot more Like you can come and sit down and have some pierogies with blueberries, which are freaking amazing. But the town literally shut it down. I said, if you don't want to let us freaking do the like open a liquor store, fine, I'll find something else. So we then found
I'm
this
really
idea.
surprised. I'm surprised
No,
they wouldn't let you do a liquor store, considering it was essential during COVID. It was
there was
like
too many liquor
one of the few
already there.
businesses they let stay open. Churches had to close, but oh no, we can't
I
touch the
know.
package store. Really? You know?
Yes. And this is what get me on that idea, because they all stayed open during COVID, and I'm like, this is a gold mine. Yeah, basically. You're not gonna lose on that business. If you
Hold
have
up.
the funds
I
to
got the
open,
number. I got the numbers for SNAP benefits for New Britain.
okay, go.
So now this is just from 2022. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit higher, depending on because that's around the time when they, the Biden administration, there was a lot of illegal migrants flowing into our country. So we really don't know where they all are at. But as of 2022, the population of New Britain was 74,125, and the people that were on SNAP benefits was 19,454.
Whoa.
Yes. That's a
Like
lot.
25%?
So yeah, so I mean, so that still leaves you 54,671 people that are not on SNAP benefits, but that's still a large amount of people that's on SNAP. And these are the things that we need to start asking, like, why are so many people on these benefits? And
Yeah.
how long have they been on these benefits?
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to do once I get to Washington D.C. is basically I want to present a bill called the Pathway to Success. So any type of programs that are federally subsidized, SNAP benefits, Section 8 housing, Medicaid, whatever type of medical insurance that they're getting or receiving, like Husky. I want it to be a mandatory requirement for people to be enrolled in some type of job training program weekly, right? And in this job training program, this is going to be the gateway for these, small business owners that are looking for people to go to work. There's always help when it signs Indeed. Instead of going on Indeed, you'll go to this job training program, and we'll give you the workers that you need. And people that say that they got mental health issues, physical ailments. I know me. If you work, whenever I got hired, either for like a local municipality from the city or for a state job, you had to go through Concentra to get evaluated to find out if you had any type of physical disabilities before they hire you for work. It should be the same thing if you want to receive tax-funded entitlement programs. You should have to be enrolled into our system, whereas that you go to our doctors to get evaluated to determine whether or not you can go to work. And if you can't work, or if you got some type of handicap, we could find something for you to do. Like I have a cousin in Georgia who's legally blind and he has a job. So you got people with autism and special needs that work in the recycling plants. So there's always some type of work to do. Because once we get these people enrolled into a job training program, the biggest fear is that rents are so high right now. People are afraid that they're going to lose their rent. So if they work a job, but the job is not enough to cover their rent, now they lose everything. With the pathway to success, what we would do is we will continue to pay for the portion of the rent that needs to be subsidized until they're able to find more gainful employment, whereas that they could cover their rent on their own. But we have to find a way to get these people off of government assistance, because if not, the financial burden is going to continue to rest on all of us, and that's going to scare businesses away from our state. So that's just something that I have in mind that I want to do. But
Most of the jobs I've ever had, I've always had to go get drug tested and get a physical. So what you're saying aligns with what I've experienced in life. You know.
yeah, you want government subsidies, you should have a drug program.
I don't know what's going on with your thing, Agnes, but it's making a lot of noise. That's better. Back.
No, but that's definitely something that we need to consider. Like, if you're gonna get government assistance, you should be enrolled in. You should have to take a drug class. If you should be drug tested.
So one thing I wanted to say about that is that in the state of Connecticut, I believe New York's the only other state that does it. The people have to pay back that welfare. And when it comes to STD for seniors, people don't even realize it, that they're not going to take it from them while they're alive, but once they pass on, they're not just taking the money that was spent. Like, say, oh, well, I had STD, I didn't go to the doctor, it's okay. No, they're charging you for the all of what it costs to have you enrolled as well. Massachusetts has that same Husky D type situation, but they max it out at 25 grand. Connecticut has no max. So then you're institutionalizing like generational poverty, because if someone has something, they're going to lose it. And I had people complaining to me about that 25 years ago, and it's still happening, where I'm not saying they shouldn't pay it back or work it off or do something in that regard. But when they finally do have a chance to break out of the poverty from an inheritance or a windfall, the state will just take it, and there they are again, back at square one, without any hand up or inheritance or asset. So that's something that I do agree that it would be good if they could pay it off, right? Like work in Arizona, we have people who are on the system, they're offered jobs at the state to work with people on assistance. So then they've segued from being someone who's on assistance to working with people, having a job. There's programs like that. So I think maybe there could be, like you're saying, welfare to work kind of a program, because a lot of people, they don't think they can make it because they've been on the system for so long and they're dependent on it, and that breaking out of it is a challenge for them. They almost see it as impossible. But if you can make something happen to help them, understand, it's a much better situation if you're working than if you're not. So I just want to mention that.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, I'm not trying to just kick people off.
Well,
And
I tell you what, guys, because I'm from Poland, right? So in Poland they don't give you the money for food, and it's a lot harder to survive in Poland than it is here in United States. I mean, food in Poland is twice more expensive than it is here for some folks. Obviously, when you use the currency exchange, if I go $100, it's 400 of Polish money, so I can get a lot of stuff for that. But if I was going to work in Poland and try to spend my money for food, is twice as much as people spend here. And so the government only will help you if you lose your job. For example, they will give you 6 months of unemployment, which is not $600 like here in Connecticut. It stops $100, and it is for a whole entire month. It is not like you're getting paid weekly there. You get paid monthly there. And so, with that being said, people need to get off the unemployment really fast because they're not going to get any other help. And for the really really poorest people, there is a little bit of help, but not like people here, like these mothers with 7 kids and every child has a different father. They are getting $2,000 in food stamps. I mean, that's a lot of money. And then they are not working, claiming they can't work, and claiming that they need to send their kids to daycare. And listen to this craziness. So daycare is paid by government for the poorest people, right, that are not making very much money. And how is that fair to everyone else who have to pay for daycare, but they are making slightly more? Let's say you're getting $4,000 a month, right? You're not going to qualify for daycare, for government assistance to pay for daycare. You have to pay yourself, and that's around $300 a week just to put your kid in a daycare. So now we wanted to bring more families, have more man and woman type of a family, because I always advocate for this. I'm asking, why is government not having public daycares? Why are we not paying for daycares? If we have tax money here in Connecticut, they have $500 million in Connecticut that they don't know what to do with. Okay, they are trying to give Republicans, I heard, they're trying to give that in tax credits for homeowners. Instead of $300, they're trying to give $1,000. I said, freaking spend it for daycares. What is wrong with you? Like, let these people, give them an opportunity to, put their kids in daycares and go to work. If we have no opportunity to have our kids going somewhere and being taken care of while we work, that's a big problem. This is why people don't work, because if you have 2 kids, who can afford $600 a week to pay for daycare?
Can,
Like,
can I,
it's
can I
crazy. And
speak?
then another $600-700 a month to pay your real estate taxes.
Can I speak to
That's
this?
already 3 grand. Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so I have 5 kids I raised. No child support, no government assistance. I had to work. I negotiated in 2003 my first remote from home job because as a mom, I was paying more to my mother's helper, and I would lose hours at work because of kids getting called and needing to pick them up and this and that. And so I was paying a mother's helper. It was expensive, and so I negotiated out a work from home situation. And that's not impossible for these people to do. You just have to treat your kids like, hey, I'm working, try not to disturb me. I'm in a meeting. I have a meeting. So, like, as far as that goes, it can be done. I mean, there's a lot of work from home jobs. They give,
No, there actually isn't. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Marsha, but I tried. I
maybe
really
not
tried
in
super
Connecticut
hard.
much, but yeah, I've had work from home jobs for the last 25 years. It depends on your field, I guess, like what you do. But in
Okay, let me
there's
ask
a
you,
lot.
do you have education for what you're doing?
Yeah, I was a single mom of 3 kids, and I went to college while I was working 2 jobs and going to school, so that I
Yeah.
could support my kids and my family, right? So that can be done, right? I mean,
It
I
can be,
guess,
but I'm gonna tell you that it's extremely hard to get a work from home job, especially if you don't go out and better yourself and get certificates and stuff
right,
like that. Connecticut is not necessarily a state that wants to hire people from home. And I can tell you that because I tried for 6 months to find a job that hires from home. And I sent at least 1,000 resumes to different companies that hire all over the United States, hire in Connecticut, which was CVS, and many, many of them. But I do not have education, and I don't have education here in United States, and that's a problem. So if
So,
I had a child, and because of my profession, I clean houses, right?
right, right.
I would have to put my kid in a daycare, and I wanted to advocate for everybody who has a situation like I do, and tried looking for home work from home. I didn't find it. I tried for 6 months, and there's only long enough that you can really look for that type of job because you want to stay with your kids and all that. And it did not happen for me. So what do we do with that?
We
I
have,
get that things may be possible, but
don't they have subsidized programs for childcare here?
I don't know because I don't usually qualify for anything with my income, you know?
See, that's the part, you're in that gap, right? Don't make enough, but according to them, you make too much to get assistance, right? That's the hard place to be. A lot of people are in that spot,
So
right?
no, actually, they have care for kids here in New Britain, and I've heard that they ran out with spots for kids already a long time ago, and the line is about like 2 years to wait to put your kids in that program. So I want to know, like, what am I supposed to do if I'm having a child? I have to go to work, right? Because I'm a single mom. I make $4,000 a month, and now I have to pay, you know,
Yeah.
$1,400 out of that monthly for daycare, and then $700 for my insurance. I
I
mean,
gotta
it's
go. My
ridiculous.
phone's about to die.
All right. Okay.
Before it hangs up, I just want to say goodbye.
All
Bye.
right, thanks
I
for
had an
coming
awesome
on.
time.
No
You
problem.
too.
So
I'll talk
thank
to you
you,
guys later.
everybody. God bless everybody. Take care.
See, so you know, Agnes, I really didn't think about the childcare issue, but it is major.
It's
Having
huge.
raised
It's
the kids
huge.
by myself with like no family around, no one to help me, because there's a lot of people out there like that who want to succeed, but they have nowhere to go to have their, and I had a job where I had subsidized daycare in 1998 or something, like really early on when I just had the kids.
Yeah.
And I got a raise of, I believe it was 40 cents an hour, and I lost the subsidy. And I said, I would be making more money working at McDonald's than and getting the subsidized daycare than I would here making like $13 an hour. Do you know? And I ended up going to college because the college offered free daycare. And I was like, well, I need college anyways. They're going to get older. It's going to be more expensive. But back then it was like 240 a week. But still, when you're making 480 a week, right? Back in those days, 240 weeks a lot. That's half of what you're making, right?
Yeah, I know.
And then not just that, but boy, some of these daycares, you don't want your kids in them, right? The cheaper ones, you know. So it is.
I get it. There should be regulations, but again, I come from the country where the country itself has paid for two type of daycares. So you
Okay.
have the one where your kid was under 2 years old, and then you would send them to another one when he got out of diapers, let's say, right? So you couldn't send the kid if the kid was still wearing diapers, you couldn't send it to the other daycare.
Oh, okay.
So they would have to, they would have to split in between the very, very like small infants, super young kids into an older kid, and to be able to send to the like let's say higher daycare, you had to have your kids out of diapers. So that also would save you money on diapers because if you wanted to send them, to daycare, yeah, that's it. They have to be trained.
Hey,
They have to be potty trained. And I
yeah,
think people here like running the freaking diapers till kids are 4 is absolutely crazy. But
yeah.
anyways, like the government paid for those facilities, and it's also paid for is that my I think my micro. Okay, I think I'm going to. Yeah, so the government paid for those facilities, and they were really nice facilities with, like at the park with swings for kids, and they were hiring teachers, and the daycare was open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So, they were running two shifts basically. And, that gave an opportunity to parents, honestly, to be able to work. And that opportunity is not given to people here. And I think Connecticut is such a rich state that, I think we should basically start demanding this, because I believe that we need more from the government. Like this
Well, actually,
country or the state does not really give us much.
in my town, they just started a preschool free, right? Because they're getting money from, I think it's free. I'm pretty sure it is because it's part of the city, right?
Yeah.
So if not, it's at least, a lot cheaper. I'd have to look. I went to a Board of Ed meeting and they were announcing this program, but they do require a certain amount of attendance so that they could get the funding that they need, right? But they do have something like that here now. So, but my kids went to the YMCA here, and with the amount of money that it would cost to enroll 3 kids, the lady waived it for me for a few weeks while I was waiting on my, paychecks and stuff, because how am I supposed to work if I have 3 kids? And at that time, I was working at the college, and then I was working at a high school, right? I can't bring 3 little kids with me. Sometimes parents, that don't have, business or skills, they'll take jobs as a preschool teacher just because then they can bring their kids to work. And it's not good, because we have these God-given gifts and abilities, and we need to nurture them and grow them and have the ability to, increase on our skills, right? And when you're stuck in a situation like that, it becomes frustrating, very frustrating. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I should really take into consideration what they're doing for childcare around here, because, you can train people to work, but if they don't have any way for someone to watch their kids, and they can't, obviously it takes a while to, get remote work, right?
It's impossible here. If you don't have the education you need for certain positions, it's impossible to get a position here. Living in Connecticut, I saw other people were getting positions just because the minimum wage, everywhere else is a lot lower than it is in Connecticut. And also, no company just wants to open a branch in Connecticut to hire Polish Agnes, So it's a problem. New York, Connecticut, Illinois, and California is really problematic for getting the jobs like you're talking about, just because you have to rely only on Connecticut companies. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will say that I had been in Arizona and had jobs from everywhere, even Canada, right? I had, business, and it was easy to work for remotely, right? But when I came here and I changed my resume and my LinkedIn to say Connecticut, it was the longest time in between contracts I've ever had. I couldn't, and someone in California is not interested in someone in Connecticut, right?
Yeah, but when the companies are posting the job posters and they say hiring globally all over, United States, or hiring in certain states, I would only apply to those that hire globally. And it's a problem. They don't want to hire in democratic states because democratic states are expensive and also have regulations.
And here's the other thing. I was working out of California when I first got here, and I wasn't even a resident of Connecticut at the time. I was just staying with my kids here, right? But I had to the law in Connecticut is you have to file your taxes in Connecticut if you're a remote worker that is staying in Connecticut. I wasn't even domiciled yet. And the taxes were at least twice what I would have paid in Arizona. Like if because I complain about it all the time. I should move to Tennessee or Texas where there's no income tax, right? Because it's a lot. I mean, we're talking about, just too much. Because I have to pay federal taxes. I have to pay taxes that are buying things, and so being a remote worker in Connecticut really isn't as great as some people might think who maybe worked in other states like I have, right?
Yeah.
And then your mill rate, I'm not buying a house here. I'm sorry to say it. I don't care. You know what? I would pay on a $150,000 house in Arizona. I think it's like $1,000 a year at the time I was looking. And if you're here now, the $150,000 houses are worth $300,000, and you're paying $10,000 a year in taxes in my town. So what's my incentive to buy a house in my town? I'll just rent. That's it.
I think I made a mistake buying in Connecticut, and I wish I just bought somewhere else than here.
Yeah.
I just, the taxes, the maintenance, everything is expensive. And I actually debated with myself if I wanted to sell it, because now this house is basically worth twice as much. And I was like, I'm just gonna sell and go to a Republican state and just buy something that is a single family house and
Yeah.
literally pay minimum taxes on it, and I can open a cleaning business anywhere basically. I'm good at what I do.
And
So
I was from here, and then I went and I lived in a red state for a couple decades. And boy, is it different coming back to a non-red state, right? Like we had Sheriff Joe Arpaio with his big buses rounding up immigrants. Because we had a lot of crime. We had a lot of crime. We had a plane that would fly them back to Mexico, and it was a Gateway Airport, right? The attitude's a little bit different, and the environment is much different. And there's a lot, at least in Arizona, I feel like I had a lot of people that had the same values as me, conservative, right? But not here. There's not a lot of support here. We'll flip that, we'll change that, but yeah, it's a much different environment when you're in a red state. It's not that bad, right? So,
yeah, I've been to red states. I went to Tennessee. I really liked it. I also went to South Carolina. I really liked it there too. I mean, New Hampshire kind of swings a little bit and stuff like that, but New Hampshire is really, really nice too. I went to Florida. I like Florida. The only thing that I don't like about Florida is that it's surrounded by older people. And anywhere you go, basically to the restaurants or anywhere, like it, people are 75 years old, and Florida is extremely slow. They drive slow, and everything is so slow. You get stuck behind, older people, and then you are just stuck there. And
like,
it kind of
yeah,
drove me a little bit crazy. But
um,
because I have ADHD, I cannot sit in one place too long.
well,
So
that's a
this is
big
the
problem in
problem.
Arizona. We have these snowbirds that come down in the winter, and you can't even get your medication. You're in line behind a dozen people. You can't get an appointment to see a doctor. You can't get
Yeah.
into Olive Garden without waiting an hour and a half. I'm not waiting an hour and a half for pasta. Well, they're just a lot. That's the thing. Yeah. But I don't like Florida because I'm scared
Yeah,
of the.
maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, my chat says not true about Florida. I mean, maybe depending on the time when you go there. If there are no tourists there, there is mostly elderly there.
Oh
And I
my
am
God.
talking about Tampa, around there, because that's where I always went. I went a couple times to Miami, and yeah, you see, or like St. Pete, yeah, a
Mhm.
lot of younger people, but a lot of more democratic people.
Uh,
You can see rainbow flags and stuff like that. When I go, I want like Republican. type of vibe. And unfortunately, it's just mostly older people, and which is great. Of course, everyone is going to retire to Florida, but I still want to feel like I'm living, I don't like being surrounded by older people,
Right.
that are 75 plus. It's
I
maybe
mean,
great for everyone else, but it's not fun for me.
it's a little depressing sometimes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I also wanted to, yeah, I also wanted to let you guys know that it.
Hello?
Oops, my phone is breaking. I think my connection
Okay.
is like
Okay.
kind of really low.
You had me on the edge of my
Okay.
seat. Like, I
So,
wanted to let you
guys, I
know.
have a link on the top of the chat.
Okay.
And if you're watching from Facebook, yeah, you can join the panel and you can talk to us. So on YouTube, the top of the chat has a link that will bring you to my studio and you can join our conversation here. Because I opened this stream today for people to jump on, and if you want to talk with us, you're more than welcome to come and join, and say how you feel about politics or how you feel about Connecticut and what do you think we should do to change our current situation. So if anyone wants to get on, just click the link. The link is in the chat, in the comments on Facebook and also YouTube. When you go to the top of the chat, there is a link to get on the panel, because my main focus is going to be Connecticut, and in the next entire year. What we're going to be focusing here at this stream is trying to put more Republicans into the government, because we don't have any representation from Republicans in our Congress. It's crazy. Like we keep voting the same people and that are there for years.
You know what? I got to drop off in a minute, but I'm going to say it's the same people over and over again. And even in town, state rep, people are complaining because what are our choices? We don't have a choice. All we have is the person who has a bad record that got elected last time. There's not really many new faces. There's not new ideas, new, improvements. And so people are just kind of like, they're either totally complacent, they don't care, right? They don't want to vote, they don't care, what happens. It's just going to be the same. It's too late. I've been told it's too late, right? Because even I'm looking at it, I made a few phone calls like, where do you stand? Because you have a bad record, right? I want to know, who am I voting for? Bad, worse, or, okay, right? It's not much of a choice. I like that. Yesterday we went to Columbia and there were young people there, young Republicans. So that
Oh,
gives,
nice,
yeah,
nice.
some hope. The kid who organized it was like 19. Another kid was like 21. And that's unheard of, right? Like my son's 18. He went to a couple events and he was like, Ma, there's no one my age. Literally, he's like, it's just a bunch of old people. And I'm like, well,
Yeah, yeah.
well, yeah, so that was good. But Agnes, thank you. It was great talking. You really, really gave me something to think about. You always give me some, I learned something, but you really gave me something to think about because I
I
have,
love seeing younger people.
yeah, yeah. But you gave me a lot to think about with the childcare and the remote work. So thanks so much. Bye.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, that's something that would be my problem if I had kids. So thank you, Marcia, for being here. I appreciate everyone jumping on here. I mean, I would still would love to invite you guys to join me and talk to me on the panel, so I can have more people speaking out, more people who are going to try to pass some information, and pass different views on things. So if you are here in my chat, then you can click the link that I just posted or click the link on top of the chat. And then if you're watching from Facebook, then the link is in comments and it says StreamYard. So if you click on that, you can go through the studio and be able to connect with me here. So hopefully I'm going to get someone here to talk to me because I am currently on my phone. And unfortunately, I cannot share my clips that I have presented. But maybe if I will try to get them going on my computer, maybe I can show it to you from my phone. Let's see. Because I had this funny, I thought it was very funny clip from Joe Reagan who spoke about Connecticut. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so funny. But most of my clips that I save, guys, are like food clips. And I always like, I'm gonna make this type of recipe, and then I always forget about it, right? So let me see if I can find. No, wait, that was on YouTube. You're right, that was on YouTube. So let's see, because I can't seem to figure it out. These are guests. Layout, destinations, and title. No, I can't insert any clips in here, unfortunately. Nope. But if you're here, you can always talk to me. So get on a panel. Let's talk about some stuff. So I don't have to finish this stream because I'm gonna run out with things to talk about when I'm here by myself. Okay, where do I find? I am on my YouTube and I'm trying to find the clip that I talked about and play it for you guys. Playlists. Yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, I got it. I found it. All right, so then the camera back. Okay. All right, maybe we can do this. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, hold on, guys. Because it goes in my... It plays in my... Oh my gosh. I gotta turn off. Oh my God, like for real. I don't want these things now. Oh. Okay. Bluetooth. I gotta turn off my... Disconnect my headset. Oh my gosh. I don't think we're gonna do this today. Because the computer decided that it wants to do updates now. All right, so I'll put myself on then. All right, so is anyone planning on getting on here? All right. Maybe.
To certain states.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's gonna be possible. Back. Camera. Okay, let's listen to this.
I've been shitting on Connecticut for years. I'm waiting for blowback. Your shitting on Connecticut gets to me. In other words, people come up to me and they're like, I'm talking like in a coffee shop. Someone will be like, why does Joe hate Connecticut? I'm like, what? Yes.
Are there fights next week?
Yes. Yeah, Vegas.
Oh, no, come on. Oh, things are not working out in my favor today. Come on. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, huh? I got too many things open. Nope. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. This blows. I can't do anything today. I can't do anything today. So is someone gonna come on here and talk to me, guys? Well, if not, then let's bring good and bad points about Connecticut. Let's see what I can do here. Thanks, Lydia. Thank you for joining us. All right, is this freaking Wi-Fi gonna start?
We're gonna be there, son. I'm in Connecticut hosting ESPN Sports Center.
Now it wants to play. Oh my goodness. Come on. All right, let's start this from the beginning.
For years, I'm looking for blowback. Your shitting on Connecticut gets to me. In other words, people come up to me and they're like, I'm talking like in a coffee shop. Someone will be like, why does Joe hate Connecticut? I'm like, what?
Are there fights next week?
Yes. Yeah, Vegas. We're going to be there, son.
Oh,
I'm in Connecticut hosting ESPN Sports Center breaking down the fights.
You got to go to
Connecticut?
Connecticut, Bristol.
Oof.
That would say, like, we're going to put a bullet in the back of your head like we did to Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, like naming
Where'd you go
off.
to school? Where were you? What part of the country?
Stanford High School in Connecticut.
Okay, that's a shithole.
Yeah, it's a total shithole.
I hate Connecticut.
Yeah.
Especially the people. Like Connecticut is a fucking strange state. You got people around the edges that are near Boston or that are near New York that are cool. They're like kind of like, I didn't want to live in the city. I want a yard. So they go to Connecticut. Right. And then you got those fucking deep weirdos. I did one of the casinos a few years back. We did a weekend at the casino, and I was like, I don't ever want to fucking do this again. This is horrible. One of those Indian casinos. I was like, this place is fucking depressing. These people are like legitimate. That's what you want to do next time. But don't get me wrong, some nice people there, but they're all dying to get out. I think Connecticut's the worst though, because Connecticut's depressing to me. But there's something depressing about Connecticut where like Connecticut always feels like there's no hope, and Hartford is surprisingly shitty. I know. You think of Hartford, Connecticut, it sounds regal. Well, I used to work in all over Connecticut when I was doing stand-up. I would drive from Boston into Connecticut. I did like a lot of gigs in Hartford. I did gigs.
Hartford is a shithole.
It's a shithole.
Well, I grew up in New England in cold country.
Where?
In Connecticut.
We're in Connecticut.
Outside of Hartford.
Okay. You're one of those people. Is it? Would be the one, like, we all designated this is the place we meet, we fuck each other up. What state? Connecticut. Yeah, for sure. States are problematic. So then what is... people like, fuck Utah, this is Texas, son.
That's true. That exists. I grew up in New Jersey, and New York hated us. And
fucking everybody hates everybody.
We hated
Boston.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah, you hated Pennsylvania, New York hated Boston. Connecticut got a pass.
Okay, so
Connecticut was like some little kid with a limp. Like, don't pick on him.
Listen.
Yeah, I think there's some resilience in living in Connecticut, too. Cold.
What's that?
It's weird. And plus, it's not really a state. Connecticut's like a highway between New York and Boston.
July 24th, 23rd, Ridgefield Playhouse in Connecticut. And the 25th,
cancel the Connecticut
Columbus Theater, Providence, Rhode Island.
Cancel all Connecticut gigs.
Why is that?
I always do.
Just for the
I
hell
don't
of it.
work in Connecticut. I'm not kidding. It's not a real state.
Okay,
It's a highway.
I'm gonna figure that out.
It's a highway between Boston and New York. Like, it doesn't feel like a real state. It feels like a highway between Boston and New York.
I thought Connecticut was New Hampshire
It's a highway.
until years and years later.
Connecticut is a highway. It's a highway between Boston and New York.
Spoken like a poet. Connecticut's a highway. Everyone in Connecticut's like, fuck you.
They are like, fuck you. But you know what I'm talking about, bitch. Bitch, you know I'm right. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of going to Connecticut. But the bottom line is, Connecticut is filled with despair. Yeah. It's not a real state. It's a highway between New York and Boston. You know it's a highway. You guys put houses on a highway. This is what it is. It's a highway, and then along the highway, it's a bunch of fucking tax sheltering cunts that live in Manhattan and then have these palatial estates in Greenwich. Like everybody that I know that grew up in a tough neighborhood, they have a sharpness to them, you know? And there's a character that they have, that they possess, that the people that grew up super cushy and some, you know, Connecticut country club estate type situation.
Right. I'm going to let you know if that's true.
Don't do it.
But as of now,
we're going to talk later. After that, you're like, oh my God, you were so right. The Connecticut gig was horrible.
I need Connecticut people to show me he's wrong.
All these Connecticut people are mad at me now. I get emails from Connecticut. Hey, bro, how about lay off fucking Connecticut? How about drive to Boston or drive to New York and recognize what the fuck you doing? But he lives in Connecticut.
It's your place to live out of all the places to go. You're from Brazil and you moved to Connecticut.
I wonder why.
Maybe
Nice. I lived there. What?
Yeah.
You live in
My parents
Connecticut?
had a house in Connecticut for 10 years.
It's one of the few places I never perform. I gave it up.
Connecticut.
Yep.
How
It's
come?
an inside joke. People getting mad. People from Connecticut are sending me messages. Come on, bro. I was banging this girl once.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I was 20, and she's the first girl to ever call her pussy a cunt. She said, I want you to fuck me in my cunt. I was like, whoa.
Hello.
This girl was crazy. She was one of those nether regions girls. She was like the Wildings. You know how the Wildings were in the Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
You know those people that lived out in the land between the kingdoms?
Right.
She lived in Connecticut, which is my map. That's where the Wildings live. She was just crazy.
Was she really?
She was so crazy. She was so crazy. I went to the bathroom once, and she gave my friend her phone number like immediately. This is after I'd already been having sex with her. I had sex with her that day, and she gave my friend her phone number. She was crazy. Mob Wives and Real Housewives of New Jersey, just to let me know how happy I am that I don't have to fuck any of those monsters.
Oh my
That I
God.
don't have to date any of those New York, New Jersey, Boston, Connecticut, those beast women, those ethnic beast women. I remember I fucking bombed in Connecticut, not in Connecticut, in Pennsylvania once. The whole thing was like, what's going on here? What are you doing, man?
You know what's one of the
That didn't
biggest
go
messes?
down.
I'm from Philly, and that story happened in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia.
I thought it was Connecticut.
No,
That Foxcatcher thing is in Philly? That was
It's outside of Philly. It's Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow. I'm confused.
But
I think it was in
John
Connecticut.
DuPont,
This unknown planet.
So I'm not quick to call it Planet 9 because
So far out there?
it's 20,000 times farther away from the sun than the Earth is. So I'm not sorry. You're not in the family.
You're not in the
No,
neighborhood.
you're not in the hood. No. Sorry, I'm not feeling
It's
it.
like calling Connecticut New York City.
I'm not feeling it.
So your belief is that you're dealing with the Pacific Northwest primarily, and then possibly a few other spots like Connecticut.
Down the backside of the Appalachia, New England states. Connecticut, well, it could be. That's
Really? I don't really hate Connecticut. One of my best friends lives in Connecticut. Shout out to Tommy Jr. I don't really hate Connecticut. I'm talking shit. You gotta understand.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you get like real sensitive about your state, you might be a fucking idiot.
Oh my God. I thought it was so funny. That was funny. Whoops. Front camera. Oh my gosh. Okay, Sundays are for NFL. Yeah, depends for whom. I don't not watch NFL. So so that's that. I had a couple other clips, but you know, it's obviously hard for me to display them like that. So that's not really going to happen, except this one because I found it really funny. I was like, it's true. Anyways, let's see what we can find about Connecticut. Tell me something good and bad about Connecticut. All right, let's see. Let's see what we can find here. ChatGPT is thinking hard right now.
or my internet is slow. But like the dot is like, I'm thinking. All right, if anyone wants to get on here, if you are going to YouTube, there is a link on the top of the chat. Or if you are on Facebook, the link is in comments. I think this is my internet that is currently or ChatGPT just does not want to literally tell me anything about Connecticut. Like, look at this, guys. This is funny. Ah! I just dropped my phone. Sorry. ChatGPT, right? Tell me something good and bad about Connecticut. ChatGPT just give me the dot. That's it. There is nothing good or nothing bad you can say about Connecticut. ChatGPT is like, whatever, girl. Oh, so funny. Well, anyways, I don't think we're gonna find out anything from this. Copy. Let's try again. Literally nothing. Connecticut. All right, you wanted to spell from the. Okay. There's something wrong with this ChatGPT thing. Definitely something wrong. Ready when you are. I'm ready anytime. Paste. Tell me something good and bad about Connecticut. Still getting a dot. Wow. That's interesting. All right, so let's see if we can find other information about Connecticut. Let's go Connecticut. The good thing about Connecticut is you can get to New York from Boston. Yeah, that's about it, right? So ChatGPT literally refuses to talk about Connecticut for some reason. Like, it just does not want to tell me anything. Like, you don't understand what Connecticut is? ChatGPT, what the hell's going on with you? Nope. All right, but there is a little bit of an information here. Connecticut is a state in the New England region of the northeastern United States. It borders Rhode Island to the east, Massachusetts to the north, New York to the west, and Long Island Sound to the south. Its capital is Hartford, and its most populous city is Bridgeport. Connecticut lies between the major hubs of New York City and Boston along the Northeast Corridor, where the New York-Newark combined statistical area, which includes 4 of Connecticut's 7 largest cities, extends into the southwestern part of the state. Connecticut is the 3rd smallest state by area after Rhode Island and Delaware, and the 29th most populous, with more than 3.6 million residents as of 2024, ranking it 4 among the most densely populated U.S. states. The state is named after the Connecticut River, the longest in New England, which roughly bisects the state and drains into the Long Island Sound between the towns of Old Saybrook and Old Lyme. The name of the river is in turn derived from anglicized spelling of Wintucket, Mohegan Packet word for Long Tittle River. Before the arrival of the first European settlers, the region was inhabited by various, oh my God, these words, Algonquin tribes. In 1633, the Dutch West India Company established a small, short-lived settlement called House of Hope in Hartford. Half of Connecticut was initially claimed by the Dutch colony New Netherland, which includes much of the land between the Connecticut and Delaware rivers. Although the first major settlements were established by the English around the same time. Thomas Hooker led a band of followers from the Massachusetts Bay Colony to form the Connecticut colony, while other settlers from Massachusetts founded the Sabre colony and the New Haven colony. Both had merged into the first by 1664. So obviously, you know, United States history and Connecticut history is not really that long or as old as European is. So let's see, what else can we find here? Tell me something good about, I mean, yeah, no, we're not gonna find anything from ChatGPT today. Connecticut is a developed and affluent state performing well on the Human Development Index and on different metrics of income except for equality. It is home to a number of prestigious educational institutions, including Yale University in New Haven, as well as other liberal arts college and private boarding schools in and around the Knowledge Corridor. Due to its geography, Connecticut has maintained a strong maritime tradition. The United States Coast Guard Academy is located in New London by the Thames River, I think that's how you read it. The state is also associated with the aerospace industry through major companies Pratt & Whitney and Sikorsky Aircraft, headquarters in East Hartford and Stratford, respectively. Historically a manufacturing center for arms, hardware, and timepieces, Connecticut, as with the rest of the region, had transitioned into an economy based on the financial, insurance, and real estate sectors. Many multinational firms providing such service can be found concentrated in the state capital of Hartford and along the Gold Coast in Fairfield County. What else? Early statehood, 19th century. For the first time in 1800, Connecticut shipwrights launched more than 100 vessels in a single year. Over the following decade, to the doorstep of renewed hostilities with Britain that sparked the War of 1812, Connecticut boat yards constructed close to 1,000 vessels, the most productive stretch of any decade in the 19th century. Connecticut manufacturers played a major role in supplying the Union forces with weapons and supplies during the Civil War. The state furnished 55,000 men formed into 30 full regiments of infantry, including 2 in the U.S. colored troops, with several Connecticut men becoming generals. The Navy attracted 250 officers and 2,100 men, and Glastonbury native Gideon Wells was Secretary of the Navy. James H. Ward of Hartford was the first U.S. naval officer killed in the Civil War. Connecticut casualties included 2,088 killed in combat, 2,801 dying from the disease, and 689 dying in Confederate prison camps. 20th century, World War I, World War II. Let's see what's going on with World War II. The advent of Lend-Lease in support of Britain helped lift Connecticut from the Great Depression. With the state major production center for weaponry and supplies used in World War II, Connecticut manufactured 4.1% of total U.S. military Okay, there's no way. Armaments produced during the war, ranking 9th among the 48 states, with major factories including Colt for firearms, Pratt & Whitney for aircraft engines, Chance Vought for fighter planes, Hamilton Standard for propellers, and Electric Boat for submarines and PT boats. On May 13, 1940, Igor Sikorsky made an untethered flight of the first practical helicopter. The helicopter saw limited use in World War II, but future military production made Sikorsky aircraft Stratford planned Connecticut's largest single manufacturing site by the start of the 21st century. Okay, late 20th century. Connecticut's dependence on the defense industry posed an economic challenge at the end of the Cold War. The resulting budget crisis helped elect Lowell Weicker as governor on a third-party ticket in 1990. Weicker's remedy was a state income tax, which proved effective in balancing the budget, but only for the short term. He did not run for a second term, in part because of this politically unpopular move. Yeah, so this was the guy that we have to pay income tax because of. In 2000, presidential candidate Al Gore chose Senator Joe Lieberman as his running mate, marking the first time that a major party presidential ticket included someone of the Jewish faith. Gore and Lieberman fell 5 votes short of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney in the Electoral College. In the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, 65 state residents were killed, mostly Fairfield County residents who were working in the World Trade Center. In 2004, Republican Governor John Rowland resigned during a corruption investigation, later pleading guilty to federal charges. Wow. Connecticut was hit by 3 major storms in just over 14 months in 2001 and 2011, with all 3 causing extensive property damage and electric outages. Hurricane Irene struck Connecticut August 28th and damage totaled $235 million. 2 months later, the Halloween no-Easter dropped extensive snow onto trees, resulting in snapped branches and trunks that damaged power lines. Some areas were without electricity for 11 days. Hurricane Sandy hit New Jersey and passed over Connecticut with hurricane force winds and tides up to 12 feet above normal. Many coastal buildings were damaged or destroyed. Sandy's winds drove storm surges into streets and cut power to 98% of homes and businesses, with more than $360 million in damages. Whoa. In the summer and fall of 2016, Connecticut experienced a drought in many parts of the state, causing some water use bans. As of November 15, 2016, 45% of the state was listed at severe by the U.S. Drought Monitor, including almost all of Harford and Litchfield counties. All the rest of the state was moderate drought or severe drought, including Middlesex, Fairfield, New London, New Haven, Windham, and Tolan counties. This affected the agricultural economy and the state. Okay, what else? Climate. We have all 4 seasons, flora and fauna. Okay, race and ethnicity. White, non-Hispanic, alone 63.2, total 66.6, Hispanic or Latino 17.3, African American non-Hispanic 11.4, Asian 5.5, Native American 1.1, Pacific Islander 0.1, Order 2.1. Interesting. The largest ancestry groups since 2010 were 19.3 Italian, 17.9 Irish, 10.7% English, 10.4 German, 8.6 Polish, 6.6 French, 3% French Canadian, 2.7 American, 2% Scottish, and 1.4 Scotch Irish. Connecticut is one of the most racially segregated states in the nation, with the non-white population largely concentrated in major urban areas such as Bridgeport, Hartford, New Haven, and Waterbury. In many cases, towns neighboring urban areas are sharply segregated from them. The top countries of origin for Connecticut immigrants in 2018 were India, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Poland, and Ecuador. So these kind of folks we have here in Connecticut. Religion. Interesting. So 2014 survey of Connecticut's residents' religious self-identification showed the following distribution of affiliations. Protestant 35%, Roman Catholic 33, non-religious 28, Jewish 3%, Mormonism 1%, Orthodox 1%, Jehovah's Witness 1, Hinduism 1, Buddhism 1, Islam 1. So I guess Protestant and Roman Catholic are the biggest here. I don't know, Jewish 3%. I mean, I don't know about that. I think it's a lot more than this. The Jewish population is concentrated in the towns near Long Island Sound between Greenwich and New Haven, and Greater New Haven and Greater Hartford, especially the suburb of West Hartford. Yeah, exactly. According to the Association of Religion Data Archives, the largest Christian denominations by number of adherents in 2010 were the Catholic Church with 1,252,936, and Connecticut is about like 3 million people. Economy. Taxation. Okay. Tax is collected by Connecticut Department of Revenue Services and by local municipalities. As of 2012, Connecticut residents had the second highest rate in the nation of combined state and local taxes after New York at 12.6% of income compared to the national average of 9.9%, as reported by the Tax Foundation. Before 1991, Connecticut had an investment-only income tax system. Income from employment was untaxed, but income from investments was taxed at 13%, the highest rate in the U.S., with no deductions allowed for cost of producing the investment income, such as interest on borrowing. In 1991, under Governor Lowell P. Weaker Jr., as independent, the system was changed to one in which the taxes on employment income and investment income were equalized at a maximum rate of 4%. The new tax policy drove investment firms to Connecticut as of 2019. Fairfield County was home to the headquarters of 416 of the 200 largest hedge funds in the world. As of 2019, the income tax rates on Connecticut individuals were divided into 7 tax brackets of 3% on income up to 10,000, 5%, 10,000 to 50, 5.5%, 50 to 100,000, 6%, 100,000 to 200, 6.5, 200 to 250, and 6.9 for the income of 250 to 500, and 7% above 500,000 with additional amounts all depending on the bracket. All wages of Connecticut residents are subject to the state's income tax even if earned outside the state. However, in those cases, Connecticut income tax must be withheld only to the extent the Connecticut tax exceeds the amount withheld by the other jurisdiction. Since New York has higher income tax rates than Connecticut, this effectively means that Connecticut residents who work in New York have no Connecticut income tax withheld. Connecticut permits a credit for taxes paid to other jurisdictions, but since residents who work in other states are still subject to Connecticut income taxation, they may owe taxes and the jurisdiction credit does not fully offset the Connecticut tax income. So I don't know if it's really that beneficial to work in another state, except of the state that you live at. I don't know. It's a question mark. All right. I don't know what the heck is going on with this. Getting like a million things. Connecticut leaves at 6.35% state sales tax on the retail sale, lease, or rental of most goods. Some items and services in general are not subject to sales and use tax unless specifically enumerated as taxable by statute. A provision excluding clothing under 50 from sales tax was repealed as of July 1st, 2011. There are no additional sales tax imposed by local jurisdictions. In 2001, Connecticut instituted what became an annual sales tax holiday each August lasting 1 week, when retailers do not have to remit sales tax on certain items and quantities of clothing that has varied from year to year. As of January 1st, 2020, gasoline taxes and fees in Connecticut were 40.13 cents per gallon, 11th highest in the United States, which had a nationwide average of 36.13 cents a gallon, excluding federal taxes. Diesel taxes and fees as of January 2020 in Connecticut were 46.50 cents per gallon, 9th highest nationally, with the U.S. average at 37.91 cents. A little crazy, if you ask me. All right. In 2019, sales of single-family homes in Connecticut totaled 33,146 units, a 2.1% decline from the 2018 transaction total. The median home sold in 2019 recorded a transaction amount of 260,000, up to 0.4% from 2018. Connecticut had the 7th highest rate of home foreclosure activity in the country in 2019. at 0.53% to the total housing stock. I wonder what that number is right now, to be honest. All right, because it's probably a lot higher. All right, what else is here? Law and government. Connecticut is known as the Constitution state. The origin of the nickname is uncertain, but it likely comes from Connecticut's pivotal role in the Federal Constitution Convention of 1787, during which Roger Sherman and Oliver Ellsworth helped to orchestrate what became known as the Connecticut Compromise, or the Great Compromise. This plan combined the Virginia Plan and the New Jersey Plan to form a bicameral, I don't know what that means, legislature, a form copied by almost every state constitution since the adoption of the federal constitution. Variations of the bicameral legislature had been proposed by Virginia and New Jersey, but Connecticut's plan was the one that was in effect until the early 20th century, when senators ceased to be selected by their state legislatures and were intended directly elected. Otherwise, it is still the design of Congress. Okay. Well, if you are still watching and you would like to this podcast here with me, because I'm here by myself, there is a link in a chat that you click on top of the chat, and then you can come on and talk to me. Because I'm a little lonely here and I'm running out of options with what to talk about, what's going on in Connecticut, which, it's expensive. So we already know that. Let me try this again. I don't know if the ChatGPT does not want to work, because ChatGPT usually has good things to tell you. Connecticut. No, it just gives me a dot. Well, anyways, if no one wants to come on here and talk to me on the panel, then I guess I'm just going to end the stream, and I'm going to go and eat something because it's time. I think I have time till at least about 8 o'clock. So I could still use those 2 hours to talk about stuff with you guys. But no one wants to talk to me. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know how many people I have watching. 10 watching. Okay. Well, I think we're just going to end the stream because I don't have any more people to talk to. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for being here. And as usual, if you did like the stream, make sure you're clicking on the like. And then also make sure you subscribe to Polish Agnes so you can come on more often. And then please make sure that you also share this stream, because what we want to do is we want to turn city red. And this is where I'm going with the stream. I would like for people to join more rallies, to join more like-minded people, and let's try to distribute this a little bit more. And for now, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate all my guests that came on today. Hopefully we can do this more often. I will be happy to host more streams. Like I said, I'm going to try to focus on Connecticut. But I know that we used to Loved the podcasting with many guests. I am planning on coming on live again on Tuesday with another candidate, and then on Wednesday with Nick. Nick is a very great, awesome patriot who is doing a lot of rallies up in Maine, and I just wanted to talk to him about some stuff that has happened in Maine while he was actually waving his flag on the other side of the street from the No Kings protest, and it turned out pretty crazy. So we are supposed to talk about that on Wednesday. And for now, thank you so much. I love you guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in a couple days. Bye.